Hey, I'm Heather. Welcome to my channel if you're new. Today I'm going to be talking about how my husband and I are debt-free in our marriage and how there's just such a freedom with living debt-free that I just want to share with everybody because it is just so awesome to not have to fight about money all the time and worry about, how we're going to, feed the kids and all of that. So I just want to share with everybody what helped us and how we are debt-free. And so let me backtrack. So in my 20s, I was not very good with money. I wouldn't say I totally overspent, but I definitely lived paycheck to paycheck, and I kind of spent whatever I wanted on, the newest trendy clothes and going out to eat with my friends and all of that. And, and I lived the high life. I should say, not the high life, but I just enjoyed myself, and I kind of, overdid it. I always paid my bills and, made sure everything was fine, but I did not have a saving. Now that I'm married, I don't do that. We have, we know where every single dollar in our paycheck is going, and it's great. We have savings, and it's just, there's such a freedom in having that, and my husband is a big reason why we are debt-free. Before I met my husband, I just kind of felt like God say, Heather, you're not going to meet your husband until you're debt-free. And I didn't have a whole lot of debt. It was just credit cards, it was probably $1,000, but I was a nanny at the time, and just live-in nanny, so I really didn't have any expenses. And I would just kind of go out with my friends and go shopping a lot, and just didn't save. And so I felt like God was saying, Heather, it's time to be responsible with your money, and just start paying off your credit card, and you're not going to meet your husband until you pay off your credit card. So sure enough, I think it was maybe 6 or 7 months of just, working really hard at not going out to eat, or if I did, I would just really, get something little like an appetizer or, a soup, whatever it was. So I'd still go out and enjoy myself, but I wouldn't, buy a whole meal and that sort of thing. So, and I stopped going shopping. I used to love going to Marshall's and all those things where you have to kind of hunt for things. So it was just something where I had to hone it down. God made it very clear, and I was anxious to meet my husband. So sure enough, I did. I worked really hard, and I was debt-free. And 2 weeks later, I met my husband. So I really do honestly feel like God told me that. And so it was really neat to go into marriage debt-free. And actually, interesting story, my husband paid off his last college bill right before we met as well. So he was debt-free. And I'm going to get into it later, but he's not a spender by any means. He really, he isn't. So that is really nice, because I'm more the spender, so I am the one who has to really work on my self-control with spending. So anyway, so we were both debt-free when we met each other. Although we did have car payments, he did and I did, and that's the only debt we had at the time. And so I guess we weren't completely debt-free, but no credit card bills or anything like that. So then we met, we fell in love, we are about to get married, and neither of our parents could really, help us with the wedding. So we ended up paying for most of the wedding ourselves. So we didn't go all out. We had a very, I would say classy wedding, but just very basic. It wasn't anything, out there or anything like that. The food was good. We had dancing, we obviously got married in the church and all that, but it was nothing fancy, so then after our marriage, we had to pay, for the rest of our wedding. And so then, we got in debt a little bit. But one of the wedding gifts that somebody gave us was the best wedding gift. If you are looking for a good wedding gift to give to somebody, I highly recommend this. It was a Dave Ramsey seminar where you watch it on video, but you have to pay for it. I want to say it was like $50, maybe even $100. It was a good chunk of money, but it was awesome, a great wedding gift, because it really opens up your conversation about money and how to spend it and who does what. Just kind of opens up the communication between your husband and you, and or your spouse and yourself, and it was great for us because it really was. For some reason, for me anyway, I had a really hard time when we got married talking about money because he was the breadwinner. You know, I moved to be with him, so I didn't have any money. You know, I was debt free at the time and moved everything to be with him. So when we got married, we lived together, but it was just like one of those like uncomfortable moments of like, okay, like you make all the money and I don't make any, you know. So that was hard because I've always been so independent and made my own money and, you know, felt good about that. So and so anyway, so pretty much we talked about money. It helped open the communication, and that was great for our marriage. He's so funny with money. He actually, when we were engaged, you know, looking into wedding things, he didn't even know how much money he had in his savings, and he had quite a bit. I didn't have any. So I was like, oh my goodness, we're rich, you know. And like, it's funny now because today, these standards, it's not a lot of money, but to me, because I had no savings, it seemed like so much. So anyway, so we went into, so we talked about money, and that was awesome. And so Dave Ramsey's big thing is pretty much pay cash for everything. You know, if you have the money, pay cash for your cars, for, you know, don't have any credit card bills or debt. And for us, the only debt we had, so we paid off our wedding pretty quick. The only debt we had after that, after we like listened to the seminar, was our cars. So we worked and paid off our cars right away. And then after that, we kind of just started collecting money. And that was awesome. It was like, for me, pretty awesome. My husband, pretty soon after we got married, he had to go on business. And if you watch any of my videos, you know my husband is gone a lot, like a lot. So we just decided to, you know, he decided to give me the responsibility of the money aspect of it. And something triggered inside of me where I was pretty, I wanted to save. Like, it was kind of, every time I could save money, I got a little high, actually. I was like really excited, you know, and I think it was partly because I could show him like, hey, I'm responsible, like this is, you know, this is how far we've come, and that sort of thing. So anyway, so we started saving, and a big thing for me was I really want my dream house. I would love to have a dream house. My husband moves every 2 to 3 years, so right now we really can't buy a house there. It would just not make sense financially. So so my dream someday is to put down roots and have a house, and it doesn't have to be, you know, a castle or anything, but just like something that my kids can grow up in and have memories and that sort of thing. So so anyway, so that was my goal. You know, my husband said that. He's like, hey, the more you can save, the more you know, we can maybe, like, it'd be awesome to pay cash for a house. I think it's pretty unrealistic for us, but it's like, it kind of gave me a goal, you know, something to, okay, like, the more that we can save up, the better. And so that was a big drive for me. So Dave Ramsey's thing. So this is what works for us in our marriage. So he said there's a, what is it, a nerd and a, what is it? There's free spirit, you know, that there's usually one person who's kind of nerdy and all about money, and the other person just wants to spend it and it's not a big deal. And he actually recommends that the person who is free-spirited kind of do the money. And I think that that is kind of true for me anyway, because I am definitely the free spirit in our marriage. He does not spend anything, like, and I wouldn't say he's the nerd either, where he, you know, does money. I don't think he knows how much we probably have in our account, and it's just not his thing. He could care less about money. And I'm similar, but you know, it's obviously you want to have enough to pay your bills. What works for us is, first and foremost, Dave Ramsey says, and I totally agree, and most people who are wealthy do think this way, that 10% of everything that we make should go to the church or charity, or, you know, something to give back, you know. And I think that is a great sign of gratitude. And you know, there's a priest, Father Larry Richards, who kind of made me think about this one day, where he said that, you know, in the Old Testament, God talks about how money is, like, all the money is God's, and he gives us 90% of it. And so 10% he keeps. So he's, you know, a generous God. And then I think it flipped in the New Testament, where, you know, we get 100%, but God wants to, you know, God asks us to give him 10%. So it is biblical, like, whatever way you look at it, that we need to give back 10%, and God will give back 100-fold. So, you know, I think that is so key. And, you know, my husband wasn't exactly on board with that at first, but now he's a-okay with it. So immediately we have withdrawal, you know, where I don't even see the money. It goes right to the church that we belong to here in North Carolina. And so that's kind of nice, because, you know, our paycheck is consistent and I don't even have to think about it. It's already given to them. And then Dave Ramsey talks about how we then give 15% to ourselves, meaning savings, put it in savings. So I did the same thing, where every paycheck, 15% goes into our savings, you know. And some people say 10%, but I know we can live off of the other 75%. So I just put away the 20 or the 15% in there, and hopefully, like I said, that dream house of mine, I'd like a house someday, so that will go towards that. And so then what we do is Dave Ramsey's all about cash, but we use credit cards. And the reason I do that is because I budget even on the credit cards, where I know, you know, how much money I spend on groceries. You know, every week we spend a certain amount of money, and if I go over, I know that next week I need to go under, so I have to be a little more careful. And so I put all of that on a credit card. I put our gas on the credit card. I, you know, put our little other odds and ends on the credit card, and, you know, just kind of watch it and make sure that it's within a certain amount. So I do use credit cards. He doesn't, you know, doesn't recommend that, and I can understand why. If you are one of those people who just, you know, it slowly adds up, then you might not want to use credit cards. You might want to use cash. So I see the wisdom in that, but at the same time, you know, I have a TJX Max credit card, and so I get cash for that, and so I can go and buy clothes for the kids or shoes for the kids or decorate my house with the money, kind of thing. So it's like, so it's hard, because for me, I'm like, they're giving away free cash. We always pay our credit card full balance every single time. And so that, you know, it's just kind of free money. So I think it would be kind of silly not to not to do credit cards. But if you are one of those people who just, you know, it's hard for you to budget while having a credit card, I would recommend just use cash. So, and then at the end of the month, whatever we have left over, oh no, and then we each get fun money, my husband and I, and this is a big marriage saver. We each get fun money, and because a part of me was like so nervous because I was so afraid my husband would just like, you know, hoard the money and not let me buy things that I wanted, you know, if I saw a new shirt or something. So what we did is we came up with a plan. It's fun money is pretty much what it is, and he gets a, you know, he gets a certain amount and I get a certain amount, and so, and it's something where I could save it, you know, if I don't spend all the money, I can save it and save up for, you know, a new camera or whatever, you know, whatever you might want to buy for a big amount of money. So anyway, so that was key for me, and it's made our marriage very happy. We each can buy what we want, but yeah, we're still within our budget. And so, so that is kind of what we do. We do have any leftover after all of that, if there is leftover, we put into a separate account, which is through our banking, and that's family fund money. And so that's how we'll take trips, and you know, and we honestly, we don't have a lot of money, so it's, you know, we went like, what was it, like 6 hours south to Charleston, you know, South Carolina, and that was our big outing, like our big family trip for spring break. So it's not like we're going to like these elaborate places, you know, maybe someday we can afford that, but right now it's just not realistic to do that. And last year our boys did go to Catholic school, so I had to like budget that in. This year they won't be, so hopefully we'll be able to like breathe a little more, because it was a little tight with the Catholic school. Love Catholic school, but it was just really expensive. So we found a really great school in town, and so they're gonna go to school for free this next year, and I'm sad that there's not the Catholic aspect, but I plan on still homeschooling that part of it. And so yeah, so that was that's what we do, and it works for us great. There are just so many benefits to having open communication with your spouse and just being realistic about money. And you know, I can honestly say that we don't really ever fight about money, and I think that's because we've always been very good about communication. And you know, I really believe that my husband's the head of the family, so you know, if he says we can't buy something, then I'm like, okay. And you know, it's rare that he doesn't, but you know, I think he's really good, a very realistic person. We saved up for a minivan because we had 3 kids and we're like, we need a bigger car. And so now that I'm pregnant with my 4th, that minivan, I'm so glad we got a minivan. And so we paid cash for that, and it was one of those things where we could pay cash for it because we saved up for 7 years for, you know, for that moment. And so that was really nice to pay cash. And you know, if there's any bills or anything, then it's great because we can use that. So anyway, I hope that these tips helped. Don't be afraid to cut back on things. And you know, we go to the thrift store when we need to buy clothes. The kids, you know, are staining clothes constantly and all that, so we go to thrift stores. We buy toys at thrift stores for the most part, and you know, we just really cut back on the things that like I never pay full price for pretty much anything. Even if I go to, you know, I don't know, Banana Republic, I go right to the clearance, and it's usually a great deal, you know, like half off of clearance or something like that. So it's like I'm always looking for a deal, and I think that's part of the price of like getting to stay home with my kids, which is a big deal for me. So just having one income works for us. You know, we do have to budget and figure it out, but but there's such a freedom in living this way. And so I just wanted to share that with you. Please give me any in the comments any budget tips you might have for other families that have helped you. Or if you know Dave Ramsey, you know, share your love for him and stuff. And yes, I will hopefully talk to you all soon. God bless. Bye.